I just had a man on my channel who had vaginoplasty and then phalloplasty, and then phalloplasty didn't work. It was very painful, so he took the phalloplasty apart and put the skin back on his body. I want to raise awareness that there is such thing as Munchausen by proxy. So I believe that anybody who brings a trans child to the doctor, it's not only the kids that should get mental help, but also moms should be like counseled as well to make sure that they don't have this condition that could possibly make them want to trans their kid for attention.
Two things can be true at once. I think there's a lot of people, way too many people, that forget that. There can be people that have gender dysphoria, and this is the right choice for them, which is why people are getting angry at you. Right. But at the same time, you're also right. There are people that are experiencing some other kind of mental illness or trauma or whatever it is, or body discomfort, and it's not the right choice to transition for them. And that's your story, and that's also true. Two truths, right? And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you in this video, because I don't think we spoke about that the first time I spoke to you, about the fact that you still have dysphoria.
I do, yeah. And I just feel like medical transition should not be the first option for dysphoria. Almost like 9 or 10 transitions were just recently in Florida, almost like 2 weeks ago, in this historical moment where we all spoke out about our stories, trying to stop medicalization of children under 18. Got a lot of backlash, death threats. We've been called Nazis and fascists. We were yelled at just for sharing our stories and trying to put a word out that a lot of this is very experimental. The surgeries and hormones, we really don't have really good data long-term showing that the best way to treat dysphoric people is indeed to medically transition them. Specifically with bottom surgery, as I went through it and as I realized that it was not right for me, I realized there is really no data showing that it helps mental health. If anything, there is data from Sweden showing that suicidality actually goes up in people who've gotten the bottom surgery compared to general population.
I think Blair actually talked about that in one of her videos, where she said that's one of the reasons she doesn't want to get bottom surgery.
We really don't have any good studies on kids that have gotten all this like procedures under 18. And for anybody who's holding up safe trans kids, do you guys know any trans kids that actually transitioned and lived healthy, happy life like years and years down the line? There aren't that many, and honestly it's very dangerous to promote that narrative. It's just sad that we even have to fight in America on state by state level. This should have already been banned on federal level under 18. I also don't think anybody under 25 should be getting bottom surgery because your brain is not fully formed up until you're 25, and so far a lot of complication rates have been really swept under the rug. So that's why people just assume it's safe. They think they just go under anesthesia and get like become an opposite sex, but that's not how it works. All you're getting is approximation surgery. You get, I don't want to say that word, but you kind of get a caricature of genitals of opposite sex, you know? And I know so many people in D-trans communities that have gotten the surgeries, and not only they didn't get any kind of functional genitals, but they also can't pee now properly. Yeah, and people think that by transing their kids, they will immediately get this whole new community and it's going to support them and just pretty much put them on pedestal for doing that to their kids. Munchausen by proxy is when moms want their kids to be sick so they can get sympathy from like public. And right now with social media and TikTok, it's very easy to get attention. And that's why it became really like prominent among young moms especially. Trans, I think, is a serious mental condition when we're experiencing dysphoria, and it should be treated as such. It shouldn't be something that should be taken lightly. Having a trans kid is nothing glamorous. It's having a patient for the rest of their lives if they've been blocked and put on hormones. It's not a joke. Some of us are struggling with dysphoria. And as I walked out of like this Florida situation, Florida testimony, I was very shaken up because part of me was thinking, did I do the right thing? You know, and in my heart, after everything I've been through, after talking to so many detransitioners, I do believe that I did the right thing. But it's not easy being accused of genocide of trans women and genocide of trans kids. I feel like dysphoric kids should be allowed to wear whatever they want. And I cannot stress that enough. We should create unisex bathrooms and changing rooms for anybody who's uncomfortable with their body. You know, maybe they don't want other kids to see their body because they're overweight or body looks a little different than average, regardless of what sex you are. I feel like that could actually be a good hardware fix to help dysphoric children in schools and other places, and just people in general, dysphoric people that maybe want privacy, they just want a bathroom to go in for whatever reason. I think that could be a good solution to help dysphoric people. The good solution would be to promote that men and women can wear whatever they want and still be men and women. That as a society, that's how we could help dysphoric people.
Which gays and lesbians have been doing for decades, by the way.
Up until recently.
Up until very recently, gays and lesbians have been, I mean, we still very much do so, but now with Gen Z, I would say, instead of saying somebody is just a butch lesbian or a feminine gay man, a lot of these people are claiming non-binary or genderqueer status, and I think, especially since there's no biological proof that those things even exist, I think it's just harmful for these very reasons. But it's just enforcing stereotypes. It's making people think that if they are just a little bit different, they're probably a lot different, when that's not usually the case. If you're a little different, you're probably just a gay guy or a lesbian woman.
I think what went wrong with transgender movement is it used to be more like high gatekeeping. Only a few people would transition that really experiencing severe dysphoria to the point that they had to medically transition.
Right.
But now the umbrella is so wide. Really anybody can be trans. Literally people don't put any more effort into presenting as opposite sex. That used to be the case in the past, that when people would transition, they would try to present as stereotype of opposite sex, but it would elevate their dysphoria. But now it got to the point where it's just anybody can be trans and they can go to women's spaces just by putting a wig on, and it puts women in danger.
And actual trans women in danger. If a guy that looks like a guy but identifies as a woman walks into a bathroom with somebody like me and Blair, we're gonna get scared. We're gonna be like, what the hell?
We need high gatekeeping as soon as possible to really define who would benefit from medical transition, to minimize damage, to people who can just get caught up in this movement and umbrella term. Some people are really going through the phase. A lot of gay people have experienced, I would call it opposite sex envy, because I think as gay people, maybe you might be able to relate to this. Sometimes we think, like, if I was a woman, let's say, my dating prospects would be bigger, whereas a lesbian woman, you might relate to that, right? Because
that's true.
Sometimes you think that, like, if you were a man, you could choose from more women, right?
That's true. I have thought about that.
I think that'd be confused for gender dysphoria, sometimes.
Yes, absolutely.
And some of us outgrow out of it and some don't. But it's very hard to predict in children who is going through the phase and who's going to have a persistent dysphoria.
And that's the actual argument we're having here. It's not that one side is transphobic and the other isn't. We don't know. And we both have different ideas of what's right at the moment.
So walking out of Florida, I had to think long and hard. And if you guys want to save trans kids, you have to define what trans is.
Sometimes I look in the community, in the trans guy community, and so many of them get hormones. And I can just by looking at the profile, I can tell that they're not gender dysphoric. They have some other mental health issues, and they're not getting solved. I feel really bad for them, and I get really angry at the doctors.
We're making a major disservice to those people by misdiagnosing them as trans, because they're losing all this valuable time and resources they could have been using to better their mental health or do something else with their life. And with me, for example, and a lot of detransitioners I talked to, a lot of us have OCDs. They like get fixated on transition aspect of life, spend so much time and energy and health and money to build this character just to realize it didn't solve any issues, and then you lost your time and resources, and you still at point A, but worse, because now you have to undo sometimes the damage, and sometimes you can't even undo that damage caused by medical transition.
When the dysphoria didn't go away after you went on hormones, had the top surgery, had bottom surgery, do you think it was because of the results of the surgery, that it wasn't not what you expected?
Yeah, I would say so. I think if I was able to have penetrative sex the way I hoped for, it would have definitely helped me not being able to connect with people sexually. And if anything, now I feel more dysphoric about my body because I feel mutilated. How can you feel happy when you see hot guys and you can't have sex with them the way you want to, I felt like I was a woman, and I know it's just a feeling. But I was sold a lie that I could just have the surgery and I would be no different than cis woman, except for having to dilate and use lubricant. But they didn't tell me that it just, my new part would want to shut down all the time, no matter what I do, no matter how much I dilate. I was not informed about it. I was not informed about that because of my body size. I'm only 5'1", that I was more prone to complications. Surgeons don't have any incentive to get it right, because if they screw up, that means more money to them for revisions collectively.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate, and we don't have WPAS has not set standards. What is successful vaginoplasty or phalloplasty? What is successful vaginoplasty? We don't know. That's why there is zero lawsuits so far against gender surgeons.
Nobody can prove that it's
that it's
hurtful or whatever.
They can't prove that it's like whatever happened was not expected. Marcy Bowers, she's like a head of WPAS, and she sets standards pretty much for the surgeries that she performs for profit. So I feel like there's a conflict of interest.
I think all people think
We're not
watching
trying to
this.
get sued here, but that's just reality. If anything, they keep on like lowering the standards. Now they included eunuchs into a transgender umbrella, which is like what? Medicine always evolves. What's like a standard right now is not necessarily what's going to be a standard like 10 years from now. Right? They're practicing medicine.
That's what they do call it, practicing medicine.
We're experiencing side effects that we weren't told before transitioning, so we had to experience it on our own bodies before the doctors would tell or talk to us about it, which is crazy. We are not sure if we can trust the doctors, and I'm sure you could confirm that. We can't trust the doctors when they keep lying to us, and they're not telling the whole truth. Informed consent, what?
Informed consent from 5 years ago for taking tea is not the same as informed consent in 2022. No. And it's not the same that's going to be 5 years from now.
You identify, I hate using the term identify, but just so people understand, at your core, you're a gay man.
I'm going through a lot of mental issues, and I'm getting a lot of pressure actually to retransition from my family, because surprisingly, even though initially they didn't accept my transition, they kind of got used to my female characters that I created in a way, you know. In a way, they see my relationship with my fiance as heteronormative. I'm confused because estrogen is sending one signal through my whole body and my mind, and then testosterone sends another message, and I sometimes don't even know who I am anymore, and sometimes I'm having existential crisis. It will be easier for me to exist in this homophobic society as passing as a woman. I've been seriously considering to retransition.
What does that mean exactly? Just going back on estrogen?
Yeah, just because it's been difficult to be on testosterone, but also testosterone gives me energy and reduces my anxiety, so I'm still trying to figure that out. When I tell people I'm a man, they're just so confused. It just doesn't make sense. I've been very feminized.
That's what I was going to say. It's not even the fact that you have boobs. It's you have long nails. Not that long nails make you a woman, not that makeup makes you a woman, but it makes you more feminine.
I'm doing a lot of soul searching right now because I don't know where I fit in, but I enjoy presenting the way I do, and people see me as a woman because of the way I do, and it makes me question. Like, and my therapist has been telling me, like, you look like a woman. My parents are telling me you look like a woman. My ex-husband is telling me, like, you're a woman. Just because you have vaginal issues doesn't mean you're not a woman. And it makes me question my own identity and who I am.
Here's another question I have, and this one's a really interesting question. We're about to get real deep, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Do you have a history of trauma? And do you believe that has contributed to the diagnosis, or at least you believing
100%.
any of this?
I have history of trauma.
Because a lot of LGBT people, that doesn't mean... Again, two things can be true at once. It doesn't mean that there aren't LGBT people that are not a result of trauma.
Right.
And then that there are ones that are.
For sure, I have childhood trauma, both physical abuse and mental abuse, both at school. I also have history of sexual abuse, so for sure it shaped my sexuality. To sit here and be like, that didn't push me to transition, it absolutely has. A lot of my following is Christian, you know, and they're like, okay, now you debunked the whole trans thing, take it a step further, like, you're not gay. Like, you're gay because of trauma. And I'm like, I've been talking to other people, gay people, trying to get to the bottom of it. You know?
Right.
And a lot of us have had trauma, but even if it's trauma related in my sexuality, like, I don't think it's, I can change it, you know? I don't think, I wish I wasn't attracted to men. Like, I wish I was straight.
Because I agree with that
culture, heteronormative situation is put on pedestal, you know? It's like, it's pure. I am attracted to men. I'm hardwired attracted to men. You know, and I wish I wasn't, because they are a source of my trauma, and all my surgeons were men. At
this moment, what would be the ideal situation for you?
If I could wage a magic wand, I would have my penis back, because I realized just like how amazing testosterone was. It was my natural biology, you know. I realized like health is important. Putting your health at risk for aesthetic purposes is not worth it.
We have a bunch of videos on his channel. What is it? We'll have it in the description below.
Right.
And a bunch of videos that we filmed on Marcus's channel, the other half of this video. Go and check that out. And other than that, I'll see you guys back here in a few days with a brand new video. Until then, I love you. Love yourselves. Bye.